Violent start to the new year for the United States. In New Orleans, an ISIS-inspired army veteran who was driving a pickup truck rammed into a crowd of pedestrians. The area was filled with New Year's Eve revelers, and a crowd had gathered ahead of this Sugar Bowl college football playoff game. The CCTV footage shows the truck initially moving at a normal speed, but within moments it picked up pace and took a sudden right turn while ramming into people. As chaotic scenes unfolded, the terror suspect also opened fire, killing 15 people and leaving 30 others injured. The truck was hired from a vehicle rental company called Turo. The FBI is investigating the case as an act of terror, and the attacker has been identified as 42-year-old ISIS-inspired former U.S. Army veteran Shamsuddin Jabbar. President Joe Biden has confirmed that the attacker posted a video indicating that he was inspired by the Islamic State. An ISIS flag was also found in his vehicle. Let's now listen into some eyewitnesses and officials.
Truck, I didn't know it was a Ford F-150. I thought it was like a Yukon or something. A truck hits the corner and comes barreling through people, throwing people like a movie scene, like real life, throwing people into the air. They falling under the car, all that. And a good friend of mine actually passed away. The aftermath was really what got me, like bodies all up and down the street. Everybody screaming and hollering.
First of all, we do know that the city of New Orleans was impacted by a terrorist attack. It's all still under investigation. I have been in direct contact with the White House, with Governor Landry, and of course a unified command who is present here. What I'm asking at this time are prayers for those who've lost their lives in the city of New Orleans due to this tragedy.
And here's what we know about the attacker in this case. His name is Shamsuddin Jabbar. He's a 42-year-old U.S. citizen. He's also a U.S. Army veteran. He served in Afghanistan as well and has transitioned to the Army Reserve. He was one of the staff sergeant rank officers and in fact has been inspired by ISIS, is the information coming in. Guns and IEDs have been found in his possession, and also ISIS flag was seen on the vehicle itself. He has posted videos earlier online where he's expressed his desire to kill, quote unquote. He's also spoken about ISIS aspirations in those videos. He's discussed his divorce in the videos as well. He planned to, quote unquote, kill his family is also the information that has come in as far as this particular matter is concerned. He's also worked in real estate in Houston and has described himself as a Beaumont native in some of those videos as well. All right, so this is in fact as far as the accused is concerned, and the US terror attacks have in fact underlined a grim reality. Terror networks are no longer confined by geography, ideology or borders. Just as the US grapples with homegrown extremism from ISIS-inspired attackers to military veterans turned radicals, India also faces a parallel threat. The failure of American systems to detect lone wolves, radicalized veterans and terror cells before tragedy struck is a stark lesson for India. Yesterday on Times Now, we revealed chilling details of the November 24th Sambal violence as well, because Sambal's deep ties to Pakistan-based terror groups mirror the vulnerabilities that have been exposed in the US unmonitored financial networks, local sympathizers and even digital propaganda creating ticking time bombs. The US serves as a dire example of what happens when proactive measures are delayed. For India, this is a time to act decisively, tighten surveillance, break the backbone of terror and dismantle radicalization hubs. The message is clear. Sambal cannot become India's New Orleans or even Las Vegas. There can be no room for excuses or apologies in this battle against terror.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
John Pragya, in fact, continues with us from debate number 1, but joining us is Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow of ORF. We have Professor Dharmendra Yadav, spokesperson of SP, also who continues from debate number 1. Asif Sohail, political analyst, is also with us. Let me start with you first, Sushant Sareen, because, you know, there are so many vulnerabilities. There's so many things about what's happened in the United States that are Absolutely shocking. For one, they are both veterans. You know, this is not a group of people who you would normally associate with anything or any act of violence. So, you know, detecting it becomes that much more of a difficult task. But the larger question and lessons for India include several aspects. Include, for instance, yesterday we had put out, intelligence notes and the 2015 case of Sambhal, where those associated with AQIS were found to be hailing from Sambhal. It's not one or two, but a large number of people from different areas. The threats, and there are areas of India where there is, of course, very heavy radicalization that we have discussed in the past. Do you think there are some serious lessons here for India to learn, particularly as far as our politics are concerned?
Madhav, there are a lot of lessons for everybody to learn from every single terrorist incident. And the first lesson, I dare say, is don't have stereotypes. And you just indulged in one that, you normally don't associate ex-servicemen with doing what they have done. Actually, especially in the US case, ex-servicemen are psychologically very disturbed because of the various conflicts they have been in. And they are known to have been involved in a whole lot of actions which, which actually would break the stereotypes. The Indian ex-servicemen community is somewhat different. Again, another stereotype which we very often have is, especially in the case of Islamic radical groups, is that somebody who is very traditional, very orthodoxically dressed, maybe with a long beard and a very traditional clothing, is supposedly a fanatic, and somebody who wears jeans and trousers and is a hipster, at least insofar as his sartorial skills are concerned, is supposedly a modern and moderate guy. These are absolutely baseless stereotypes. Very often you will see people who are very traditional, very orthodox, actually not indulge in the kind of radicalism which many of the so-called modernistic guys do. And incidentally, most of the ISIS lot you will see are not the traditional kind of people. They will be more modern, perhaps half educated, have gone to a university, maybe some degree college or something, and then taken courtesy what somebody once called Sheikh Google, taken to a certain, a radical philosophy, and then, partly self-radicalized, partly influenced by other people who are acting on them. So far, at least in India, we have not seen many examples of madrasas, for example, being used by radical groups or by terror groups. Most of these guys who have indulged in terrorism have been people who are engineers, who have been doctors, who have been in.
No, but there are instances. Over there, Sushant Sareen, where there are political parties that have gone soft on terror. And I want to bring in the Samajwadi Party on that note. Because Professor Dharmendra Yadav, 2012 mein, we had seen how the Samajwadi Party government then sought to quash the terror charges against accused in the 2006 Varanasi blasts. And, these blasts had claimed 25 lives. Why is it that, political parties even today, after what we've seen, whether it is 26/11 or the parliament attack or several such attacks here in India, continue to go soft on terror?
माधव जी, टेरर का हर कोई कंडेम करता है इस देश के अंदर. आपका इस तरह से बोलना बिल्कुल ठीक नहीं है. कोई भी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी हो या समाजवादी पार्टी हो, कोई
सर ये फैक्ट है. मैं कैन आई रीड आउट व्हाट इलाहाबाद हाई कोर्ट सेड विद योर परमिशन मिस्टर यादव?
किसी तरह के टेररिज्म को कंडेम करते हैं. नहीं, फैक्ट नहीं है वो.
Sir, I'm reading out a news report from the 7th of June 2013. The Lucknow, सुन लीजिए, 2 मिनट सुन लीजिए, शायद आपको जानकारी ना हो. ये लखनऊ बेंच ऑफ इलाहाबाद हाई कोर्ट का ऑर्डर है. The Lucknow bench of Allahabad High Court blocked the state government move to withdraw cases against people accused of terrorist strikes. While suspending the UP government order, the High Court fixed the next hearing after 6 weeks. The larger bench would then hear the case. It was a hearing in a PIL where the court had given the state government 2 days to respond. ये मेरे वर्ड्स नहीं है सर, ये न्यूज रिपोर्ट है, अवेलेबल है और ये फैक्ट है.
नहीं, आप न्यूज रिपोर्ट, आप भी एक एंकर हैं चैनल के. अभी आपने बोला कि अमेरिका में जो टेरर अटैक हुआ उसी तरह से संभल में हो रहा है. आप संभल की घटना को अमेरिका के टेरर अटैक से आप कंपेयर कर रहे हैं.
सर, संभल में एक इंटेलिजेंस नोट है, एक चार्जशीट है जिसका मैंने रेफरेंस दिया, कल हमारे चैनल पे चला है. 6 बजे आप जाके ट्वीट और ऑनलाइन देख सकते हैं, वो सारे ब्रॉडकास्ट अवेलेबल है. अप्रोच ऑफ गोइंग सॉफ्ट ऑन टेरर, ये सवाल उठा रहा हूं और उसी बेसिस पे जो हाईकोर्ट ने कहा है उसी बेसिस पे सवाल उठा रहा हूं। तो आप क्या मानते हैं हाईकोर्ट भी गलत है?
नहीं, पहली बात तो मैं आपको बता दे रहा हूं, समाजवादी पार्टी किसी भी तरह के टेररिस्ट एक्टिविटी का समर्थन नहीं करती है, उसको कंडेम करती है, चाहे देश के अंदर चाहे देश के बाहर कहीं भी हो। और समाजवाद जो हमारी विचारधारा है, अगर आप समाजवाद को समझते होंगे तो उसमें बाकायदा इस बात को मेंशन किया गया है कि हम किसी भी तरह की इस तरह की एक्टिविटी का समर्थन नहीं करते।
ओके, चारू प्रज्ञा, वी डोंट सपोर्ट टेररिस्ट, इट इज नॉट पार्ट ऑफ आइडियोलॉजी।
कर रहे हैं अमेरिका के टेररिस्ट अटैक का कंपैरिजन आप संभल से कर रहे हैं।
सर, लेसन्स हर जगह के लिए हैं, टेरर अटैक्स के विक्टिम्स हमारा देश भी रहा है, इसलिए सवाल किया जा रहा है। चारू प्रज्ञा, प्लीज रिस्पॉन्ड टू द एसपी स्पोक्सपर्सन।
26/11 का समर्थन किसने करा बताइए?
See, Madhav, let's understand that
while
Mr.
Yadav, आपने बोलिए, अब औरों को भी बोलने दीजिए प्लीज।
प्लीज मिस्टर यादव, ये इलॉजिकल टाइप की आप बातें मत करिए। लेट्स गेट बैक टू व्हाट इज इंपॉर्टेंट हियर। What is important is that maybe you are not openly a terror sympathizer, but at the same time, your politics of appeasement is so strong and so massive that you will side with criminals, with probable terrorists even, if it helps your politics. And that is why we're drawing a comparison between Sambal and what is happening in the United States of America. It's important to understand that there could be people who seem very well educated, well settled in life, but who could be part of a sleeper cell. Every single time the NIA is conducting raids, because if I talk about most recently, just this year in Uttar Pradesh, 7 people were arrested and booked. Even before that, when there were raids in West Bengal, there were, weapon making workshops that were being conducted inside the madrasas in West Bengal, and all of that was allowed to happen right under the nose of the West Bengal government. There are in fact several states in India where sleeper cells of ISIS have been found. So when political parties, for their petty appeasement and their 15 seconds of just getting
Asif Sohail, I want you to respond to Charu Pragya. She has given examples of Bengal. The larger question and messaging that comes from what has happened in the United States is that if disillusionment and discontent can lead to radicalization or indoctrination, then Sambal and the reports coming in from there, if the intelligence notes and the various charge sheets. In fact, one of the charge sheets is about 9 years old. They are certainly very, very disconcerting because they really show how such hotspots of radical activity can lead to individuals and elements actually joining mainstream of the bigger terror groups which are huge threats to India.
माधव, देखिए, दहशतगर्दी की इस मुल्क में जगह नहीं है भारत के अंदर। हम उसको स्ट्रांगली कंडम करते हैं, ठीक है, और हम भारत के मुसलमान बराबर मुल्क का परचम लेके बराबर आगे ठहरेंगे मुल्क की हिफाजत के लिए, चाहे वो कोई भी रहने दो। और रही बात अगर संभल के अंदर कोई टेरर लिंक बता रहे हैं तो ये गवर्नमेंट की फेलियर है। उत्तर प्रदेश गवर्नमेंट क्या कर रही है, सो रही है क्या, ये बताइए आप। इतना बड़ा अपने आप को बताते हैं योगी सरकार, उसमें कहां गए फिर? वहां पे जब मासूम बच्चों को मार देते हैं, उसके बाद उसको टेरर लिंक करते हैं, मुसलमानों के वक्फ के जायदाद खींचते हैं, उसके बाद उनको बताते हैं वो आतंकवादी गतिविधियों में है। अगर है तो देखिए आप बताइए। देखिए, हमारे पास कई केसेस गुजरात के एग्जाम्पल है, कई मुसलमानों को झूठे केसों में फंसाकर कई सालों तक जेलों में
Sushant, quick response. There are false cases, and that's why it's important to look at this, about the way in which the governments function. That's an argument coming in, and in fact, we've seen Mr. Owaisi also, talk about giving support to those who are being tried in various cases of terror. How do you respond to that? Sushant.
Yeah, so I think when Mr. Owaisi says that, we will give support, legal support to people who are being tried for terror, I think that's problematic. That's problematic because the assumption is that just because a person happens to be from a certain faith, a Muslim faith in this particular case, that means that you have to give him that particular, relief in terms of giving him support. And I think that's problematic because if the charges against him are serious, then clearly I don't think any political party should support him. Now, let me make 2 very quick points. Number one, on this whole business of appeasement, there's this third-rate terrorist who died recently, Abdul Nasir Madni. Do you know he was responsible for the deaths of over 60 people in Coimbatore blast and a number of other blasts?
Yes.
What was the Kerala government doing out there? That giving him oil massages because he was in prison and he was suffering from pain. Is this how you treat terrorists? Number 3, there is a very, very clear nexus between criminal gangs and terrorist gangs. The networks, there's an
That's the
intersectionality
question.
of that in terms of
That's certainly a
weapons
very
and in
important
terms
question,
of
Sushant.
funding
Sorry I'm
networks.
interrupting you. I'm sorry I have to interrupt you here. Completely out of time. In fact, it's got to be a hard stop now, is what my producers are telling me. But Charu Pragya, Sushant Sareen, Asif Sohail, and Professor Dr. Dharmendra Yadav, I would like to thank all of you. It's a very, very serious issue. On the issue of terror, all Indians certainly need to be united, all political parties and ideologies, because it doesn't matter which party is in power or which party is in opposition. Ultimately, it is the citizens who suffer when such a terror attack takes place. Thanks so much for joining us this evening.